Welcome to the listeners of TALRadio English, CXO Showtime. We bring in global CXOs on this platform to share the journey to success. Our guest today is Heather Ehle, founder and chief executive officer of Project Sanctuary. She's driven by a strong desire to give back and do more. She's passionate to support the military families. Heather was a finalist for the People's Magazine All Stars Among Us. In 2012, Project Sanctuary was honored at the White House as one of the only 5 2012 Joining Forces Community Challenge winners, chosen out of over 300 nominees in recognition of its work with military families. Welcome, Heather. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Heather, you have more than 25 years of experience in healthcare industry as a nurse, manager, volunteer, and then you went on to become an entrepreneur. What do you think, and how was that experience helped you to build Project Sanctuary?
I Googled how to start a nonprofit. Overwhelming desire to do something more for our military families. I noticed through my experience in healthcare that the families really weren't being taken care of. I had Googled how to support military families, and at the time, 15 years ago, there weren't any nonprofits focused on families and healing. And I wanted to give back and do more. I saw that there was a huge need. So I literally Googled how to start a nonprofit and went from there.
And what actually made you to think about Project Sanctuary, and how did you accomplish it?
Through my nursing career, military families would show up in our waiting room looking for answers. My first instance of helping military families was during the first Gulf War. And there were just tons of symptoms and not a lot of support back then. And then through 9/11, I noticed again that families weren't a focus. My background in home care and hospice, you empower the whole family. You pull in community support. You want to make sure that they're successful, that they're able to go home and be successful. I live in Colorado. It's a beautiful, beautiful state with lots of outdoor recreation, lots of opportunity to heal. It's truly a sanctuary. I began speaking to Vietnam veterans and saying, can we help these families? What if we took them to the mountains? What if we provided classes? What if we provided recreation, tools and support? Would this help? Would it make a difference? And it was a resounding yes. Everyone I spoke to thought it was a phenomenal idea and something that wasn't being done.
Indeed, it is. And it's been more than a decade now for Project Sanctuary, right? What do you think about it, and how do you want to take it further?
The key, we've always asked our families, what do you need? How can we help? What can we do more of? That's the way we started 15 years ago. That's continued to this day. So surveys and listening to our families. So Project Sanctuary's always been able to be fluid and change based on what we're hearing. Our families ask for therapeutic teenage resources and classes during our retreats. So we built that in. So as we look further out, hopefully we continue to base our programming on what the families actually need and what we're seeing. I think the 6 days will always stay in place. Having licensed counselors, certified therapeutic recreation specialist, having a professional team and staff on board also makes us unique and different, and I think it helps sets us apart. So some things I think we'll continue to do the same, and others will be based on what the families need.
Right. And it looks like Project Sanctuary has a very interesting ambition. It's like Project Sanctuary believing that when one person is served, the whole family is served. Isn't that true? Can you please elaborate on that?
Yes. So many programs help just the veteran. So they'll take the veteran, we call it fishing, and they teach him tools and support, and he comes back home and the family didn't get the same opportunity for growth and lessons and things to learn. So the family's still in baseline chaos. So we literally take the whole family fishing and teach them all tools and support so that when they go home, they can help each other. When someone deploys, whether it be the mom or the dad in the family or both, when they come home, everything's a little bit different. Nothing's the same. The family's also serving. They're going through crisis. They've had additional stressors put upon them. The whole family really needs to blend together and support one another and heal.
Another interesting concept that I see is therapeutic retreats. We would like to know more about it for our listeners.
So all of our retreats are actually therapeutic. Most people who do retreats think that their programs are therapeutic, just recreation or fishing but ours are actually designed by CTRSs, which are Certified Therapeutic Recreation Specialists. And our retreats flow on purpose so that we have the maximum benefit. All of our retreats are attended by licensed professional counselors. So that a great opportunity to enhance communication would be whitewater rafting. And maybe the therapist is in your boat for that trip, and they can help reinforce some of the techniques and the language and the communication skills that maybe the family learned for the first 2 days. So everything is done on purpose and scheduled for maximum value and impact.
We've seen that COVID has been the biggest challenge for the present generation. It has also served as a combat field for nonprofits. Are there any specific projects taken up by Project Sanctuary during this time?
Like to be able to build the first therapeutic center for military families. That would be a huge undertaking, but always just fundraising. We don't fit any grants for veterans because we also accept actively serving families, and we don't, the DoD doesn't support our veterans. There are no grants really through the government for spouses and kids so we're in a unique position that we need to rely on foundations and the generosity of funders, special events to help our program continue to grow and move forward.
And can you share an interesting experience or an incident that occurred in your experience with Project Sanctuary?
Favorite stories and most impactful, we had a veteran come through, Ronnie, who was very resistant. He had attempted suicide, and his wife had found him and stopped the suicide attempt, signed up for a retreat. He was very resistant throughout his whole retreat, but he listened. After his retreat, he called and said, okay, I want to do better. He had a lot of survivor guilt, moral injury. Why did he survive when so many of his friends didn't? Ronnie stayed with us and then continued to heal and do better. He eventually began to lead our Project Sanctuary retreats as one of our retreat managers. And in one of the classes, when we were talking about post-traumatic growth and how to live with it as a family, one of the veterans walked up and handed Ronnie a bullet that he had been carrying in his pocket because he had intended to kill himself. And after listening to Ronnie's story, he had hope. And he realized that his story didn't need to end either, and handed the bullet to Ronnie and said, I no longer need this.
And that's a very interesting story. And it also it brings the point that there is a lot of mental stress that everybody goes through, right, as they kind of get into the field and get back to the normal society.
Most of our families are living with post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injuries, anxiety, depression, a lot of the invisible injuries to war.
Right. I also see that you give a lot of family support to the military personnel. And can you share one such family experience with us?
As we were saying, the whole family serves. So more often than not, the spouses and the kids also have secondary post-traumatic stress. They may be living with depression, anxiety, as well. We watch our kids grow up because we've been doing this for 15 years. So some of our children decide to become recreation specialists themselves, which is wonderful. We've also seen a lot of our children enlist, and they're now currently serving and have deployed to Europe. So really, a lot of times it's a generational impact, what we're seeing. And kids grow up and they continue to serve just as their fathers or mothers have and their grandparents. We hope that our kids that are now serving are more resilient and healthy when it comes to their mental health because their parents took that step forward and brought them to a retreat and focused on their healing.
Right. And changing the way military families heal is a very innovative concept. What made you feel to give support to military families, though you don't have any direct ties with military families?
I think it was just through my nursing career. As I became more aware of what our families were living with, what they were struggling with, and the limited resources, honestly, for the entire family, I knew that I needed to do something. And again, Colorado is just absolutely stunning and beautiful. And since inception and 15 years later, we're now in 8 states. So we try to find sanctuaries and safe places of healing across the country to make sure our program is more accessible to other people. So not everyone can travel to Colorado and not everyone can breathe at our altitude. So having retreat locations for families in Seattle and Texas, Maryland, Georgia, North Carolina, making it more readily available for those that really need help.
That's nice to hear. And I believe you're also looking forward to open more and more centers in coming months or coming years. I see that a new concept of human-centric case management is the core focus for Project Sanctuary. It's another unique and innovative approach that I've came across. How is it enabling families to tackle their problems?
Came about organically after the retreats. The families would contact us and say, hey, how do we continue our healing journey? Or, hey, we've hit a planned financial snag. We can't pay for food. Can Project Sanctuary help us? So our case management and our follow-up program is run by a social worker so that our families are empowered and have ties back into the community to make sure that they are moving forward and successful. So the follow-up support really is based on their needs. We work with other organizations to make sure that they get the best head start. If they can't pay rent for medical reasons, let's take a look and let's work with a financial planner. Let's give them some more tools and more support. Maybe we'll pull in another nonprofit to help pay for 1 month's rent, and we'll cover another month's rent while they're getting help they need and the financial assistance and planning. So it really is based on each individual family, what they may need at that time. And it's just another way to continue their healing journey.
How challenging is it to get the grants in place and get the funding available for all your programs?
Fundraising is always a challenge, but once we partner with the foundation, we like to think that we're good listeners and we're good partners. We want to make sure that we really celebrate that relationship so that they continue to fund us for years. We think we're exciting and fun. We think that we have amazing impact and outcomes. And by listening to our foundations, it makes us a stronger organization through the work with our board of directors and making sure we're doing everything we can. But fundraising's always challenging. There's way more need than there are dollars. We like to stretch the dollars as far as they can. We think we're really kind of genius in some of the ways that we're able to make that money go a little bit further so that we can help as many families as we can.
Any fundraising events that are coming up for our listeners to know about?
We don't host our own events. We rely on the kindness of others. So we have several golf tournaments that are coming up. AMCO has been one of our favorite partners, and they host a golf tournament for us. Naval School, postgraduate school, they also host a golf tournament. And then even average veterans and families in Nebraska may have a family barbecue and raise money for Project Sanctuary. So we're always relying on the kindness of others.
That's so very important that kindness is one of the key things for everybody to keep glued together, right? And yes. Any future plans that you have as the CEO and founder of Project Sanctuary?
Hope we just continue to do what's best for our families, listening to their needs, always being on point and aware. Of course, right now everyone's a little more tense with the Russia and Ukrainian crisis. Our families are certainly on point and paying attention. So just making sure that we're ready and we're best serving our families where they are and what they need as we move forward. As I said, it is a pretty big dream, but we would love to build a retreat center just for military families. We've been hosting events across the country for many years, and we think we know what a retreat center would really need. And to have a place that families would always be able to come and heal and have hope would be pretty amazing.
Finally, with all your experience in nonprofits and passion to support military families, what message would you like to share with our listeners?
There's always hope, whether it be a veteran or a neighbor or a school teacher or someone in your community, if someone is struggling with post-traumatic stress or struggling with depression or anxiety, to reach out, let them know that there are organizations and people that care. We just have to begin to have that compassion and ask the hard questions. Are you okay? How can I help? Just letting people know that there are caring people and their organizations focused on families and focused on mental health that are willing to be there and to help.
That's so very important that people who are in stress, they don't know generally where to go. And then if they have people who can help them with providing the right direction, that's going to be a huge difference. Heather, thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us on.
You have a very wonderful day ahead. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.